The fourth right turn is iterate, decelerate, and celebrate. After you have planned, it will be time to execute. Innovation is opportunity recognition and pursuit of opportunity. At this stage, you are about to begin. Once you start executing, one thing Stanford teaches is that the process is not linear. This is the process at Stanford. The steps are less critical as the acknowledgement that from this step, you may have to go back to a former step. When you are creating with customers and building solutions for them, be ready. Don't get frustrated that it's not following a straight path. You have to iterate many times, learn, gain insight, and use that to make changes to your idea or your business model. The next one is decelerate. Sometimes, no matter how hard you try, it is necessary to pause or put your project on hold. This must be a decision reached by the team and sometimes the customer, but it does happen. In my experience, the reason to decelerate is to cut losses. If you're familiar with stock trading, this is a common risk management tool. Traders have a cut-loss limit. Once you reach it, whether the trader wants to continue to hold his position, he has to stop. The reason is that the loss you see today is real and better than the bigger possibility of loss tomorrow. No one can predict tomorrow. Cut-loss limits are a discipline traders follow in the high-risk world of trading. You will sometimes have to cut your losses in innovation too. In my experience, there are 3 reasons: market or context changes, ethical reasons, or the customer is not ready, or not ready to pay. Let's talk about them one by one. Market or context changes. Sometimes, by the time you are ready to launch your product, the economy or the market has changed drastically. Timing is everything, and market or context changes are uncontrollable elements of your business environment. It is better to pause and reassess than continue and risk losses. Ethical reasons. We once had a customer at the bank who we developed a product for, and we later realized the product was flawed because we put 100% trust on the customer's accounting system, and we could not double-check it. We asked the customer to redesign, and they refused. We then had to make the difficult decision of terminating the project. The customer is not ready, or not ready to pay. I hope this does not happen to you, but sometimes you can build something and it will cost you time and resources, and once built, the customer says they don't want it anymore, or they want it for free. As tough as it is, sometimes you have to walk away. After all, you are not a charitable organization. One of the hardest things to do is to decelerate, because you and your team are wired to take on challenges and never give up. But there are instances where the risk with continuing outweighs the reward, and that's why it's good to have a business plan and a business canvas in the first place. It serves as your guide, and when you go off track or veer too far off, you know it's time to decelerate. And, as Twyla Tharp says, store the box first, as you may need to pull it out in the future. Something I learned from a webinar at Stanford University on strategy is that deceleration is hard. As the song A Life That's Good says, sometimes I'm hard on me when dreams don't come easy. I want to look back and say, I did all that I could. People get so invested in their projects, so attached to their team that when logically you know it's time to end or cut losses, you still find it hard to change direction. You and the team are wired to keep trying and need to know you gave it your all. The way to handle this is to allow your team to grieve. In the same way people celebrate weddings and births, people need to process their grief at burials and funerals. I am not saying you must throw a funeral. You can think of ways to mourn the loss of the idea or the business. Maybe you can have a send-off for the project that will no longer be pursued. Allow your teams to say goodbye. Only then can you all move on. I have a cautionary tale here. Have you heard of Elizabeth Holmes, Chairman, CEO, and founder of Theranos? She was a Stanford University engineering student who at 19 dropped out, like Steve Jobs, and created a way to simplify the blood test. She said she would use less blood, drawn through a pinprick, and with her Edison lab, which was the size of a printer, she would immediately provide blood results on over 200 markers. She raised $900 million, and at the peak of her company, it was valued at $9 billion. However, despite all the efforts of her 700-person team, they could not make the idea a reality. They sold their idea to Walgreens in Arizona, but upon execution, resorted back to the traditional way of drawing blood and used commercial machines to provide the lab results that produced errors. She was found guilty by the US FDA, and in 2018, her company was valued at $0. Don't let that happen to you. But if you are one of those lucky few who is able to recognize a market opportunity and then pursue it to the end, and you're able to launch and commercialize it, then it's time to celebrate. You have created something new, something of value, and for that, pause for a moment with your team and enjoy and celebrate your achievement. You deserve it. Before you proceed to the next section, please complete the self-assessment. You may want to write down your answers and keep them along with your notes.